Imagine this. You meet someone who looks perfect on paper. They're nice, reliable, stable, but when you're with them, something's missing. You can't put your finger on it, but deep down, you know. Your friends tell you you're being too picky. But what if that uneasy feeling isn't about you being picky at all? What if it's the single most important warning sign you'll ever get in dating? And ignoring it could cost you the chance of finding your extraordinary love. I've worked with so many singles who've pushed that feeling aside because everyone around them said, nobody's perfect. Just be grateful you found someone. He's a great guy, or she's a wonderful woman. And yet months or years later, they found themselves in relationships that were safe, but soul-crushingly unfulfilling. This happens because our culture has been feeding us a dangerous message that having high standards is a problem. The reality? That gut feeling you have, that sense that something is missing, is often your internal compass trying to keep you from making a huge mistake. But when we ignore it, we trade the possibility of deep connection for the comfort of good enough. And that's where so many people get stuck. Let me start with something that probably sounds familiar. How many times have you heard someone say, if you can find 80% of what you want in a relationship, you're doing well? Or maybe, nobody's perfect. You need to be realistic about your expectations. Here's what bothers me about this advice. For virtually everything else in our lives, we're told we deserve the best homes, the best schools for our children, the best health care, the best cars we can afford. But when it comes to relationships, arguably the most important decision we'll ever make, suddenly we're told not to be so picky, to settle for less than the best. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't to me. I had a client, let's call her Linda, who was 54 and had been following exactly this advice. She'd been in a relationship for 8 months with a man who was good enough. He was reliable, financially stable, and treated her decently. But something was missing. When she talked about him, there was no light in her eyes. She felt guilty about wanting more because everyone told her she was being unrealistic. You know what I told Linda? I told her that feeling was her soul telling her that this wasn't the right person and she should trust that feeling. 8 months later, she met David, a man who not only met her practical needs, but who truly understood her, shared her passions, and brought joy back into her life in ways she'd forgotten were possible. That's the difference between settling and finding your soulmate. Now, let me be clear about what I mean when I say the one or soulmate, because I think there's a lot of confusion about this. I'm not talking about some mystical perfect person who never disagrees with you or never has a bad day. I'm talking about someone who gets you most of the time. Think of a relationship like a rope used for rappelling down a mountainside. If you have two ropes, one that's worn and frayed with only a few strands holding it together, and another that's solid, intact, and all the strands connected, which one do you want to trust with your life? The point is this. For a successful relationship, you need to have more things in common than not. The more ways you connect in values, goals, interests, humor, life philosophy, the stronger your relationship will be. That's not being picky. That's being smart. I've interviewed hundreds of couples in extraordinary relationships over the years, and they've all told me virtually the same thing, almost verbatim. And that's, my partner brought more to our relationship than I could have ever imagined. Not some of it, not most of it, more than they could have imagined. That's what happens when you find someone who's truly compatible with you on multiple levels. They don't complete you because you're broken. They enhance your life because you're whole, and together you create something even more beautiful. In my book, Dating Backward, we compare this to a mathematical formula. 1 + 1 = 1 to the power of 10. This means that the two of you together can achieve or accomplish so much more together than you can apart. Here's where I think a lot of people go wrong, and it's costing them their chance at extraordinary love. They confuse must-haves with would-be nice-to-haves, and then they either compromise on what really matters or hold out for things that don't. Let me give you an example. I worked with a 61-year-old client named Robert who had been divorced for 4 years. He had a list of about 20 things he wanted in a partner. When we sat down and really examined that list, we discovered that only about 6 of them were true must-haves. Things like shared core values, emotional availability, desire for commitment, financial responsibility, similar religious beliefs, and genuine kindness. The other items? Things like loving to travel, enjoying the same music, being a morning person like him. Those were would-be nice-to-haves. They were preferences, not requirements for deep compatibility. Here's the key insight. If you're looking for someone who has all of your must-haves, plus all of your would-be nice-to-haves, you're definitely setting yourself up for failure. But if you focus on finding someone who truly matches your must-haves, you might be amazed at how the other pieces fall into place or become less important. Robert met Patricia 6 months later. She didn't love to travel like he did, and she was definitely a night owl. But she shared his values around family, had a generous heart, was intellectually curious, and made him laugh in a way he hadn't experienced in years. Today, they're happily married, and guess what? He's discovered he actually enjoys some quiet evenings at home, and she's started to appreciate some of his travel adventures. I believe one of the biggest reasons people give up on finding their soulmate is because we live in an instant gratification society. We want fast food, instant communication, our favorite music at the push of a button. We've gotten used to having everything immediately available to us. But extraordinary relationships don't work that way. They require patience, discernment, and the willingness to wait for quality over convenience. I see this all the time with online dating. Someone will go on 2 or 3 dates with a person who actually has real potential, but because they don't feel immediate fireworks, they move on to the next profile. They're treating dating like ordering from a menu instead of like the serious endeavor of finding a life partner. Let me share something that might surprise you. Many of the happiest couples I know didn't have that instant spark on their first date. They had something better. They had recognition, a sense of comfort, of coming home, of this person gets me. That recognition often grows into something much more powerful than initial attraction. It grows into the kind of love that sustains itself through decades, through challenges, through the ordinary moments that make up most of life. Now, here's something else I believe might surprise you. I think we all have the possibility of having more than one soulmate. It's just a matter of which one you find first. This isn't about being indecisive or keeping your options open. It's about recognizing that there might be several people in the world who could be truly compatible with you on that deep level. But that doesn't make the search any less important. It actually makes it more hopeful. Think about it this way. If there's only one perfect person for you out of 8 billion people on Earth, your chances are pretty slim. But if there are several people who could be soulmate compatible with you, and you're willing to do the work to find one of them, your chances are much better. The key is not to use this as an excuse to be indecisive when you do find someone special. When you recognize that soulmate connection, you commit to it fully. You don't keep looking over your shoulder wondering if someone better might come along. There's a huge difference between finding someone perfect, which none of us are, and finding someone perfect for you. Let me explain what I mean by perfect for you. They share your core values about what matters most in life. Maybe that's family, faith, honesty, adventure, security, or growth. When your fundamental values align, you naturally want to move in the same direction. They communicate in a way that works with your style. They don't have to be exactly like you, but they need to be willing and able to really hear you and to share themselves authentically with you. They bring out the best in you, and you bring out the best in them. You're not trying to fix each other or change each other. You're inspiring each other to be more of who you already are. They're willing to choose you and keep choosing you, even when it's not easy. Love is a decision as much as it is a feeling, and your soulmate is someone who makes that decision consistently. You genuinely enjoy each other's company. This sounds simple, but it's crucial. You should actually like spending time with this person, not just love them or be attracted to them. Here's what I want you to do, and this exercise has transformed how my clients approach dating. I call it the must-have clarity check. Take out a piece of paper and divide it into 2 columns. In the first column, write down your absolute must-haves, the non-negotiable qualities that someone needs to have for you to consider them as a life partner. These should be things related to character, values, and fundamental compatibility. You may have 5 or you may have 50 things on your list. Personally, I have 32. Now, in the second column, write down everything else. All your preferences, your would-be nice-to-haves, your ideal physical type, shared hobbies, lifestyle preferences, all of it. Here's the crucial part. Commit to giving serious consideration to anyone who meets all of your must-haves, regardless of how many items they check off in the second column. This doesn't mean you have to date everyone who meets your must-haves, but it means you shouldn't automatically dismiss someone just because they don't share your love of hiking or prefer staying in to going out. This exercise helps you focus on what actually creates lasting compatibility, while staying open to being surprised by someone who might be perfect for you in ways you hadn't imagined. Let me be very direct with you about something. The biggest threat to finding your soulmate isn't having high standards. It's settling for less than you deserve because you've been convinced that's being realistic. I've seen too many people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s stay in mediocre relationships because they thought it was better than being alone. But here's what I've learned. Being with the wrong person doesn't just prevent you from being with the right person, it actually damages your ability to recognize the right person when they do come along. When you're in a relationship that's just okay, you start to believe that's all that's possible. You lower your expectations. You stop believing in extraordinary love. And you might even miss your actual soulmate because you're not emotionally available to recognize them. Your soulmate will bring more to the table than you can imagine. They'll surprise you with their depth, their understanding, their ability to love you in ways you didn't even know you needed to be loved. But you have to be open and available for that to happen. Here's something wonderful about looking for love at our stage of life. You have the wisdom and self-knowledge to recognize genuine compatibility when you see it. You're not distracted by superficial attractions or trying to prove anything to anyone. You know who you are and what matters to you. This clarity is actually a huge advantage. You can spot red flags faster. You won't waste time on relationships that don't have real potential. And when you meet someone who truly fits with you, you'll have the maturity to appreciate what you found. The love you're capable of now is deeper, more intentional, and more sustainable than anything you might have experienced when you were younger. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone that will share the fullness of who you've become. So, is the one a myth? Absolutely not. I believe that finding an extraordinary relationship is well within your reach. The problem is that most people give up far too soon. Your soulmate is out there. They might be someone you haven't met yet, or they might be someone you've dismissed too quickly because they didn't fit your preconceived ideas about what your ideal partner would look like. The key is to stay open, stay hopeful, and don't let anyone convince you to settle for less than the extraordinary love you deserve. At our age, we don't have time to waste on relationships that are just okay. We have time to find something beautiful. If this message resonates with you, if you're ready to stop settling and start believing in extraordinary love again, I want to help you avoid the critical mistakes that might be keeping your soulmate from finding you. I've created a free guide called The 5 Biggest Dating and Relationship Mistakes and How to Avoid Them. And it dives deep into patterns I see that prevent midlife singles from attracting the love they deserve. You can download it using the link in the description below. Remember, extraordinary relationships don't happen by accident. They happen when you get clear about what you really want. Stay committed to not settling for less, and approach dating with both wisdom and hope. Your soulmate is looking for you too. Don't give up before you find each other. Now, if you've been through a divorce, I know finding love again can feel both hopeful and terrifying. The good news is that your experience has taught you valuable lessons about what works and what doesn't in relationships. I dive deep into how to use that wisdom to your advantage in the next video, why smart midlife singles date differently and avoid divorce again. Click the link here to watch it next. I'll see you in the next video.